at Rural Solutions. And I'm thrilled that Jody can talk to us today about social media. I know it is a very popular topic that people just want to know more about. We've been lucky to have Jody present to us a couple of other times over the course of the last year or so. And so she just brings a wealth of knowledge and ability. So please welcome Jody Lawich. Thank you. Welcome, Jody.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing black because my daughter goes to Providence College, and go Friars. They're in March Madness. That is where my heart lies today, other than with all of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll start the slideshow. I have an agenda, but the way we're going to do questions is there's 3 sections we're going over in terms of the nuts and bolts of social media. I have room for 1 to 2 questions after every section, but we're going to open it up completely at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question and it's not heard right away, please know that you'll have time at the end. So, jot anything down that you feel like you didn't hear or you need to get some answers on. So let me go into the slideshow. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Come on, there we go. So you already know my name, it's Jody Lawich. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Rural Solutions right here in Burlington. We serve not just Vermont, but nationwide. Our audience is small businesses, 1 to 25 people, and we're really a one-stop shop. I head up the marketing division, but we have a finance division, which helps people with everything from bookkeeping to accounting, and we also have tech. So we're 3 colleagues that I was corporate for 25 years, went out on my own for 3 years, and then Thomas Dukeshire, who's our CEO and CTO, brought myself and our other colleague together under one roof for Rural Solutions. In my career, I've always done marketing and always done writing. Not to completely date myself, but I've been doing marketing since before there was an internet. So, so I had to learn about the internet as it came about. In my heart, I am what they call a creative, which is typically either a copywriter or a designer. And to me, if you're a copywriter, you really have to be very well versed in all aspects of digital marketing, because at this point, it all works like this. It's like the gears of a clock. They all feed into one another. So today, what we're going to be talking about is, and I want to be clear, is organic social media. Paid social media is a different animal. There are display ads, there's boosting a post, which I can talk a little bit about, but this is really the social media that yourself or a company is putting out there on your own, or you're having somebody do it. But this is the stuff you're seeing consistently. It's technically free, but that's the difference. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So our agenda today is that we're going to start with planning, creating time in your schedule, simple documents to use, and ideation. Second is going to be content creation, actually creating the content. Best practices, length of posts in terms of how many characters, your messaging, using hashtags and using images. After that, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break so you can stretch, get a drink of water. And then we're going to do the last section, which is publishing, which is actually getting those posts out there. We'll talk about, the most common platforms to do that, meaning social media scheduling platforms. I put cutting and pasting in here because it'll make sense once we start going through it, which is really about taking your approved content and getting it into the platform, scheduling, and consistency, which is a key part of doing your social media. And then after that, we'll open up to questions. So planning is, I think, where a lot of small businesses get stuck. The whole idea of doing social media really, to me, falls under that. How do you eat an elephant one piece at a time? It feels overwhelming. So you want to break it down. And it really does start with planning. You need to be intentional about your social media. It's not like personal social media where like, hey, I had a ham sandwich today. Your audience is probably not going to care too much about those kinds of posts. They want the engagement. And more than that, posts are always about your customers or clients. They're always the heroes. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So one of the first things you need to do as a business owner, and let me move this up because I don't know if it's blocking. There we go. Is you really need to assess your time. I mean, as entrepreneurs, you know, small business owners wear so many hats. You know, you're marketing, you're accounting, you're the person maybe at the cash register or the keyboard. You're doing almost everything, if not everything. The average small business owner spends 1 to 5 hours per week working on their social media. So even if you go on the lowest end at 1 hour per week, you know, you're talking about a minimum of 4 hours a month. Truthfully, that's probably not enough, but that's the minimum that you would spend working on your social media. Almost half spend an average of 6 hours per week. So 6, you know, times 4, that's 24 hours a month. Again, this is where you have to weigh your time versus your money. Is it worth your time to do this on your own? Or is it worth it? You have to ask yourself, do I have this kind of time? If not, you may want to budget and actually look for a reliable source to do it for you. If you do, and it's something you're passionate about or something you really like, because not all business owners like to do social media. I know some business owners who actively dislike social media. I think that's more for personal reasons, but you need to be there. Your business needs to be present and it needs to be on these platforms. So this is where you really want to look at how much time you have to put toward this, and if it's something that somebody else should do or you can do it yourself. Okay. Now, the second is when you say, yep, I can set aside 2 hours a week to do this. You need to break down the planning process. It's you're planning, you're writing, you're finding images, or you might have them if you have a retail business and you've had pictures taken of your items. And then there's scheduling posts. So there's really 4 aspects to getting social media done. So an average for the hour per task per week, what I base it on is what I've seen from clients. Again, these are minimums, but you would estimate 1 hour per week for planning. You want to estimate about an hour and a half for writing, because not only do you want to take time with your writing, you want to sort of put it away for a little bit and then review it and make sure that it's on message, there's no typos, it's sounding and saying what you want it to say. You're also going to want to, during this time, is choose an image that's going to match your post. Your image should match or support what you're saying in your post. If you're talking about daylight savings time, you do the classic clock or something that people know instantly what that post is about. It's very similar to having a logo for a business. You're translating visually what that post is about. And after that, I would estimate about an hour for posting, because for as easy as platforms can make that scheduling, they can be fussy, especially with the images. And it's not so much the content of the images, but it's the size. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But it takes time, especially like, let's say you crank out 2 weeks worth of posts. You need to set aside the time to actually get the posts into that platform and scheduled. So these are the kinds of time commitments that you want to be thinking about in terms of how to approach your social media. So the third is finding or creating planning documents that work for you. Now, there are hundreds of content calendars online. I'm going to show you an example of 2 that that I use when I'm working with a client. Well, one is actually from HubSpot, and I totally modified it. So I'm not going to show that version, but I'll show you the simple and then what HubSpot does. So you want to use a calendar for each of the tasks on the previous slide. And, you know, again, you can use a content calendar. If you like using an electronic calendar like Google or Microsoft, you know, you like to block off time and that works for you, that's great. You can also use a platform like Asana, that's a project management software. That, you know, there's a number of those, again, where you would block off time. You can create yourself tasks and, you know, it'll send you reminders. It's really about how you work organizationally and what's going to work for you. And if somebody's helping you, you know, how do you keep on track with each other? So those are the things you want to think about. I'm going to show you these 2. So I'm going to stop my sharing for 1 second on the slide and go to another. Okay. So can everybody see? Just like give a wave. Okay. This is literally just a super simple table I made in a Word doc, and I'll be posting these into the chat at the end of either at the break or at the end of the session. If you're interested in, you can download them. I typically post 3 days a week for my clients. This one is an ice cream stand. They're called Coney Island ice cream. They're in Catskill, New York. But I will fill out the date. I put my copy into here. I list my hashtags because we'll talk about those. Hashtags are important. And then if you want, you can put your own image. You know, you just sort of click right and you insert. This is really if you just want to tackle, you know, week by week, super simple, not a big deal. This one, now, can you see the Excel spreadsheet? Okay. This is a download from HubSpot. I actually love HubSpot. They have a lot of good information. They have 1 million downloads that are really helpful in all kinds of areas. But this gets very in depth. If you see where my pointer is at the bottom, you have.
Wait, Jody, we're not seeing your Excel.
And
Okay.
where's did you say HubSpot?
Yeah, it's HUBSPOT, all one word. And let me share again because I probably only shared the one. I did. Okay, can you guys see it now? Okay, great. So this is something I downloaded from HubSpot. This is one of their social media content calendars. Down here, this page right here that I'm on, I feel like it's a great simple little page. You know, by account, they mean if this is Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, it already has a date column set. You can obviously update those. The message would be your copy. Link really could be anything from links you put in the copy. It doesn't have to be anything special. Campaign, again, is, let's say you're a retail outfit and you're gonna do an Easter campaign. You would just, you'd fill this in Easter 2022 so that you know. The character count is a great column, and we'll get into this when we get into the actual content, but every platform has character limits, meaning, there's only such a size in characters that a post can be. And each one widely varies. It's kind of ridiculous. There's no standard to it. Facebook being the biggest, but there are best practices around how long your post should be for best levels of engagement. So it's good to just have that in here. This gets really in depth. I don't want you to get scared when I click on these other these other tabs. I tailor this, but this is really if you get very granular. I don't think that that's necessary for companies like ours. I mean, if you're Reebok, you've got 10 of these insert month and year because you have multiple campaigns going on. We're not Reebok, but there may be some things in here that are helpful. So this is the monthly planning calendar. Content repository. This is if, you're grabbing blogs that you like, different articles, you could put them here. Twitter updates. This really is more, I don't use Twitter very much, to be honest. I think it really depends on the kind of business you are. But they have Facebook, and it goes on. Really, again, I think this schedule is a great one to use, super easy. And, if you use it in conjunction with the one I just showed you, and sorry, I have to keep clicking here. If you use that schedule with something like this, you can have your content pretty well organized. And again, this is a time commitment, so you want to think about that. So let's go back to the screen share. So again, I would, take some time to see what kind of documents work with how you work. That's knowing how you work organizationally is really going to be key in this process. So just, in the chat or maybe a show of hands, I'm wondering if one or two people would, if you're using a calendar already, what are you using? If you would like to share, that would be great.
I use a Google Calendar and
Okay.
set it up for reminders. So that's been working for me.
Nice. Do you block off time to get, to actually sit down and do stuff?
Yes, I do. Yes. So
Nice.
sometimes just to check my email, or if I'm doing homework for classes, then I block that time frame off too. But
Perfect.
if I'm meeting with someone.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Peggy. Anybody else using a calendar if you've been taking a dive into social media?
I have two different ways that I've been trying to integrate into being better about staying active with advertising and marketing on social media, because that's my primary advertising at this point is Facebook, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I have downloaded, as a prompt from another webinar I had taken, I downloaded a calendar that's pre-filled with prompts that you can use daily or whenever to give you an idea to jumpstart your creativity, to give you some ideas of things that you should post, because honestly, I can just sit there and stare blankly at it and not know what to fill in. So yeah. The prompts were really nice, and I went through and I tweaked that to be more relevant to my own business and to have the prompts be a little bit more open-ended, because with it being a Vermont business, I tried to cater it to the season.
Yep.
So that's one thing I've done. But as you said, I would like to try to, I changed my website seasonally to be more relevant, the
Nice.
homepage.
That's great.
But I really would like to start carving out more time to be more diligent about it, because I am a one-man show. So I have to make sure that I'm using my time as wisely as possible and purposefully carving out time to use that time to make the most of it and to make sure that I'm uninterrupted.
Exactly.
That's a huge point for me.
It is huge. And great job downloading a content calendar with prompts. There's a lot of them out there. I think it's great that you tailored it to your business, because that's important. I mean, you set aside the time to do that, because a lot of those prompts, it's really just to get the wheels going. It's not to hand you, you know, the perfect post every other day.
I think that's the challenge, because we're also busy doing what we do.
Yeah.
That to figure out how to lure people into wanting your service, how do you know how to sell yourself?
Well, we're going to get into that. That's really about messaging, which is about branding. And we're going to talk about that in the content part. So we will definitely be addressing that.
So are
But
you, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Peggy.
So are you using, you said Facebook.com's calendar? The one with the prompts? Is it Marini?
Merity. What I had done was another webinar I had taken, I just Googled it and I found a bunch of downloadable PDFs.
Yeah.
And then I just manipulated the daily prompt to be something that's relevant to my business. But then I don't really have the time to do it as often as I'd like. So I've got to learn how to carve out the time to actually use the prompts that I manipulated to work for my business.
Right. Right. We're about to go into the content part, but did anybody else have any questions that came up during the planning part? All right, let's keep moving. So content creation. Planning is hard. Content creation is even harder for a lot of people. Very understandable for any number of reasons. Time is definitely, you know, within the top three, having time to create the content. Underneath that would be not really knowing what to put in for the content. And I would say third is, you know, it's just not some people's wheelhouse, and that's totally fine. But you need to be there no matter what kind of business you are, whether you're a brick and mortar, whether you're services based, whether you're completely e-commerce, you need to have that presence because it's really about branding. So brainstorming, themes, and ideation. This is, again, something you're going to set some time, you know, aside in your calendar for. Themes help you organize your thoughts. They help you target your audience, and it makes it easier to coordinate with and across your other marketing channels, meaning your website, your email marketing, if you have ad campaigns going, radio ads, whatever that is. Ideally, all of those things are going to have a level of consistency through them. You know, if you're talking about, you know, tire changeover in the next few weeks, ideally, all of your other marketing channels are going to be talking about this in some capacity as well. So themes help you stay consistent, and there's different ways to do them. So I'm just going to move my little thing here because I think it's in the way. So one way to work on themes is weekly. And that's where, you know, you could make Marketing Monday, Tech Tuesday, What's Happening Wednesday, Finance Friday. And you would create hashtags for those, but literally every Monday is going to be about marketing. Every Tuesday is going to be about tech. Every Wednesday is this what's happening Wednesday, whatever that is. And obviously it needs to pertain to your business. If you're a massage therapy person, maybe you would do Massage Monday and you talk about the benefits of therapeutic massage and all, or the different kinds of massage that you do. So that's one way to do it. So you know each day of the week, or it doesn't even have to be every day, but minimum 3 times. You really need to be posting 3 times a week for that level of consistency and branding. So that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can come up with a hashtag and you stick with that. There's monthly themes, and topics by month are particularly helpful for businesses that are affected by the seasons. You know, an example would be March cleanup. Let's say you're in gardening supply. This is the time of year where you're starting to advise people how to get their, their ground ready and their vegetable beds prepped, and, potting seeds to then transfer into a plot. This is, you would look at the month of March and go, okay, the first week of March, we're talking about cleanup. Second week of March, we're talking about mulch. You would look at the entire month and break it down by the 4 weeks, because those are mini topics. You have your main topic, and then sort of you break it down. You can also, and again, this is for seasonal businesses, but I do find that quarterly themes are really pretty good for financial and business service types of small businesses, because, especially financial, you're always looking at that 3-month activity. What's happening? It's that 90-day stretch. It's Q1, it's Q2, it's Q3, it's Q4. Same with insurance. So again, you would look at, we're going into Q2. If you're a financial service operator somehow, what typically happens during Q2? And you would break that down by the month. What do people need to know for April? What do people need to know for May? What do people need to know for June? That is a quarterly way to look at things. And then there's planning just in time with your own business flow. For instance, January and February for marketing businesses is like snoozeville. There's just not a whole lot happening because it's after the holidays. There's not really a major holiday, maybe Valentine's Day. But then all of a sudden March hits and everybody wakes up, probably because of daylight savings. But I just know historically that January and February are pretty slow. So when I talk about in those months as a marketer, is you need to start prepping for your spring and summer activities now. So, there are businesses that have their own ebb and flow. And if you're one of those, again, that's how you're going to be able to address your audience best, is by the flow of your business. So this is all part of the brainstorming and ideation. Then once you have mapped that out for, 2 weeks to a month, you really want to keep in mind best practices for social media. As I said before, you want to make your customers, and that's also the users looking at your content, the hero of your post. It's not about you or your business. Let's say you're a chiropractor. You can relay a story about how, Jane Doe came in. She was having trouble sleeping for weeks. And, you talk about her, and maybe there's a special technique that was used to help her get back on track. And it's about Jane Doe, how now all of a sudden, she called us 2 days ago to let us know that she had the first full night's sleep in 8 weeks. It sounds like it's about you, but it's really about Jane. What problem did you guys solve for Jane Doe? You don't want to promote yourself overtly. You don't put in 10% sales, you don't put in free shipping, you don't put in, you know, it's not that used car salesman approach. That will turn people off instantly. Even if, I mean, I've seen some posts recently from some competitors about, you know, how they feel great because they got a blank click through on certain ads. A better way to have put that is our client was seeing, you know, single digits in their click rate. They're now seeing double digits, and here's why. It's really about offering valuable information, something that will resonate with the people reading it. Because really organic, you're building a relationship and sharing. It's not about one-upping. It's not about taking the bullhorn and saying, I am the greatest thing around. It's really talking about how you help people. And if you think about it, that's how you build relationships. That's how you talk to people. And that's how you want to be in your content. Consistency again. And the reason that being consistent, being present is so important is that it's a big part of your branding. When you show up consistently online, you show you are trustworthy. You show you're there. You show you know what you're talking about. When you post for 3 weeks and then you disappear, it has an impact. So it would almost be better if you can manage to get 2 posts per week. That's the most you can do. That's fine. But just be there 2 times a week on the platforms you need to be in. Copy should always be positive. You don't want to run another competitor down. You don't want to be complaining. Try not to use the word don't, even though I just did. Again, it's really about positive problem solving. What pain points are you addressing in the most positive way? And the last thing here is really about responding. It's awesome and great to see people engage with your posts, but it's not just about getting the likes. If somebody actually writes a comment, you want to respond within 24 hours, especially if it's maybe not the most positive comment and you want to stay positive when responding to those, but responding again is part of that trustworthiness and being there and showing up. Okay. So I made this mock-up for teaching purposes. A couple of years ago, I made up a company called Little Shoes. And if anybody has ever tried to dress a toddler, I mean, dressing in itself is almost impossible, but getting the shoes on is, you're wrestling an alligator. Doesn't matter who you are. And you're wrestling them whether they want the shoes on or they don't want the shoes on. My toddler is now 19 and a half, but she still won't wear shoes. So this fake company I made up created shoes that toddlers love to put on. So this post, it says no struggling feet equals more time for coffee. Little Shoes coffee break. So what we're addressing in this is a pain point. How much time could the parents of a toddler save if they're not spending an extra 5 to 10 minutes fighting getting the kids' shoes on? Probably enough to earn a cup of coffee. So this is all about your messaging. Your messaging is your branding. And the questions that you want to be thinking about or weaving into your content are, why does your business exist? What is the passion behind the business? Why do you do what you do? What was that? Excuse me, I just got to take a class. Something made you do what you do. What pain points do you solve for people? And I have seen $100 million companies screw this question up. there's features and then there's benefits. The benefits are the pain points you're solving. If you sell paint that's easy, interior paint that's easily washable, so if you have kids, you don't have to worry about it. The feature is that the paint is fully washable. The benefit is your house doesn't look like a daycare that got overrun by 100 kids. They're two sides of the same coin. And in any content anywhere, whether it's social, whether it's your website, whether it's a blog post, users are ultimately, even if they're not fully aware of it, they're ultimately looking for the pain points you solve in your own unique way. So you demonstrate that through testimonials, through customer stories, or just even, your own brilliant brain. That's where the planning comes in. And you think about that. One of the, when I'm working with people, we take a bunch of marketing tasks off their desk and we do it for them so they don't have to worry about it. They're working in their business, not on their business. So that's where you want to be with all of your content, including social. And the last thing you want to do is include hashtags, because for a few reasons. One is that they're searchable. They've been searchable on Instagram for quite a long time. Now that Facebook owns Instagram, they're searchable on Instagram as well. They're also searchable on LinkedIn. So they're really part of important content now. You always want to create, I put hashtag little shoes here because you want to hashtag your business name. It's part of your branding. Who are you? When I post for my company, Rural Solutions, it's hashtag Rural Solutions. Because it's feeding that database of searchable hashtags. Okay, so images. Images are part of your branding, so choose wisely. Some people are amazing with their phone and can take incredible pictures. Like my daughter takes incredible pictures. I take pictures of food like this image here, and it looks like something from the garbage dump. It's horrible. So what you want to do is either use stock imagery. If you are good at taking pictures and really assess that, it's kind of that question, like everybody thinks they can dance, but that's not necessarily true. If you do actually take good pictures of what you do, you can certainly use them. If not, and you are in a product-based business, it is worth your time to find a good local photographer and pay for a session and have images taken of your products, your items, whatever that is. Because you're curating, you're not just choosing an image to support what you put into your content. If you have a great post and it's just got a not great picture, it's going to show up in your engagement. And it's, that's taking your hard work and not complimenting it. Size is a big thing for images. And I put them all in here, and you guys will be getting a copy, a PDF of this, so you can use this as a reference. Again, I don't use Twitter too much. And something you should know is that photos are always measured in pixels. So, it's a photographic measurement. You don't necessarily have to know what a pixel is, but that's what you're going to see. So Twitter has a 1200 by 675 size. Instagram is the absolute fussiest. I have always had such a hard time with Instagram. I have found that Facebook and LinkedIn they're pretty flexible if an image isn't the exact right size. I mean, the platforms will work with it to get it into the post. Instagram will just reject your picture. And at worst, and I've had this happen, is they'll go ahead and post your post and just put a big blank square if it's not the right size. So when you're sizing images, particularly for organic, I always use Instagram as the standard, which is 1080 by 1080, because it's so fussy. And if it fits on Instagram, it's going to fit pretty much everywhere else. Stories is in here, Facebook, and here's LinkedIn. And as you can see, like Facebook and LinkedIn are very, very close. Twitter is, these three, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they're all pretty similar. Again, it's Instagram that's kind of the stinker. Most platforms that you're using, if you're scheduling ahead of time, will flag it and you can edit within it. I prefer Canva. That's CANVA. It's like graphics for dummies. It's, you know, a gift to all of us, but something worth looking at. Okay, so how long should your post be when you're writing? You know, as a writer, I can write a whole lot. These are just examples of posts I've done for clients in the past. But the character counts, again, they vary widely. Facebook is over 63,000 characters. That's absurd. Do not put up a post that's 63,000 characters. I don't even know exactly how long that is, but it's way too long. The recommended, meaning studies have shown that posts with 40 to 50 characters tend to get the most engagement. And when I say characters, it's not just letters and numbers. It's spaces. It's if you are cutting and pasting a link, like you want somebody to go, you know, to your contact page or your about page, every single piece of that link is a character. Essentially anything on the dash on your keyboard is a character. And like I said, spaces are too. If you want to check the length of your characters, you can always highlight in Word. I think it's under the editor, but you can find a character count. I suggest you do that if you have any questions about, you know, where you're falling. Twitter is 280 characters max, and they are hardcore about that. Their recommendation is, you know, 70 to about 100. LinkedIn, you can go fairly long on LinkedIn. Again, they will stop you hard. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a word. Theirs is 700. Their recommendation is 100. Instagram can go pretty long, 2,200. They recommend under 125. I think you can go a little bit longer because, you know, part of what you're doing is you're building like an online personality. What I've always loved about social is there's latitude in there to inject personality into your content. A little bit more so than the other standard channels, website marketing, email marketing, and blogs. You know, you have that space. So I wanted to give you guys like maybe 2 minutes and then see if we have any volunteers who would like to share a theme. Feel free to, I'll give like 2 minutes if you want to create one. And then if we can have a couple volunteers. Are you guys game for that? Is everybody awake? Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes and then let me know if you want to volunteer. I'll take a look at the chat while we're waiting. Hi guys, can I have one or two people who would like to share a theme?
Jody, I think a couple of people posted that in the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just closed the chat. Okay. Okay. So it looks like with hashtags, the most effective way to use hashtags after you sort of hashtag your own business is, again, they're searchable. I find them most searchable on Instagram. So you would literally go, when you go in the search bar, you go over to where it says hashtags, and I would just start, you know, you can do yoga, you can do yoga in VT. I would come up with a short list, 5 to 10. You don't want the ones with, 1 million plus volume on it. And I can't share on my desktop because I have a PC. So Instagram is very limited on desktop. Everything's on the phone. But if you come across a hashtag that has maybe 100,000 followers, because hashtags have followers, that's why they're searchable. That is potentially worth adding to your list. For Instagram, you can put up to 30 hashtags. If you go to 31, it won't post. I don't know that anybody really needs 30 hashtags. That's a whole lot of hashtags. If you're really into hashtagging, I'd probably do 10 or 11. Facebook is I don't want to say it's the opposite. It's searchable. Hashtags are searchable. On Facebook, really best practice is around 4 or 5 hashtags. You don't want to hashtag the heck out of your stuff on Facebook. Same with LinkedIn. And on Twitter, you really just can't go crazy with hashtags because it's eating up your character count.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you have, this will show my age. Is there somewhere I can, Wikipedia or somewhere that I can search? I don't have a clue on any level what a hashtag is. I don't understand how it's searchable. I don't understand how I would know that there's 100,000 followers on a hashtag. I don't understand its value. I have no clue. So as to not take your discussion off the rails, can you give us a link for the older people here so that we know what on earth you're talking about? Because my teenager is in charge of my Instagram because I find it infuriating.
I agree. What I would do, honestly, I don't have a link popped up right now. I would just go to Google and type in how to use hashtags. You're going to get some great stuff. Companies that really address these things well, again, HubSpot, Unbounce, UNBOUNCE. That's another one. Column 5. It's another company. So I would just go through how to use hashtags, and you want to find a tutorial, and that should help. And it's good you have your teenager helping you because they're a great source.
They really are, but she just gets frustrated when I ask questions, and there's a lot of sighing. So
yeah, I get that too, trust me. So any other questions before we take a short break? All right, guys.
Jody, did you want to go through the themes with people that they came up with? Sorry.
Did anybody have any that they wanted to share?
I think A.S. Olmsted did. Sorry.
Hey there, my name's Scott. I have a very small company. I make CBD dark chocolate from single origin cocoa beans and Vermont whole hemp flour. And one of the themes that I've been using most consistently on my Instagram feed is just sort of my ingredients. I use only 3 ingredients in the product. So I really focus on where they're coming from, and I've got lots of great images of them.
Okay.
So that's a thing that I've been using as a theme now. I need to move into a theme that's a little bit more, as you said, benefit focused. And that's where I get a little bit lost in my own, I get in my own way in that regard.
Well, I think it's great that you sort of want to bounce back and forth between the ingredients, and I would really start getting into the cannabinoids. You know, why are people taking CBD? Why does it work? How does it work with the nervous system? You know, those are the things, because that's really about the benefits, right? Because CBD is about very naturally calming down the nervous system. And I mean, there's just a plethora of information to share on that. The only caveat I would say is make it very layman's terms. You know, talk about what an endocannabinoid is, what a cannabinoid is. I would even talk about the difference between CBD, you know, hemp and marijuana, because even though they're in the same genus, the thing with CBD is that it I think it has like something like 0.3% of THC in it. You know, that psychotropic part is not part of the plant. So it's a mix of ingredients, really scientifically what it's doing, and that's really around your benefits. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure. All right, guys, let's take a quick 10-minute break and stretch, and we will move on to the last part. Oh, Krista, do you have a question? Oh, no, that's just.
Oh, that was way before when you had asked something. Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Thanks.
So we'll come back at about 11:10-ish. All right. So this last part is going to talk about posting, taking your hard work on your creative and actually getting it out there, which is the goal, and serves your business. So we're going to talk briefly about the different platforms. There's honestly so many different options now. I mean, I do your research. Cutting and pasting, I'm going to show you a little bit how to do that. Scheduling, and then how this plays into consistency. Okay. So I'll put that over there. So this image is actually a little bit of a snip. I didn't take it, but of what it looks like in Hootsuite when you're using Hootsuite. That's one of the platforms. So the platforms I've put down here are really some of the most common. Again, there's a whole bunch of them out there. Many of them have a free plan, which can be very useful. Hootsuite is actually free for up to 3 accounts. And I have found that that's really all you need, at least for a while. You know, that's your Instagram, your Facebook, and your LinkedIn. Facebook I put on here because with Facebook owning Instagram, if you have a business Facebook page and an Instagram business page, Facebook allows you to connect those. I mean, they actually allow you to connect them personally as well. But they've built what they call like their business dashboard. And within that business dashboard is the ability to publish, you know, or schedule and publish. Later.com has been around for a while. Again, they later can post on a multitude of platforms. Later was really developed to be able to post easily to Instagram, because again, Instagram being fussy Instagram hasn't always been the easiest to integrate with other platforms. So later.com was there. Constant Contact, if you have a Constant Contact account for email or even a website, they have a free social integration that is great. I'm actually going to use that to show you how it works. And then Buffer, I know a lot of designers that use Buffer. Buffer seems to be really good, particularly for like Instagram stories, posting highlights and getting animation onto Instagram. I haven't used Hootsuite in a while, but I couldn't get animated posts to work from Hootsuite on Instagram. It was like a thing. Hopefully they fixed it. I don't know if they did. So basic post steps for posting, and this is just like sort of a general overview. I mean, each platform is going to have its own nuances, but essentially you're going to go in. This snippet here is from Hootsuite. I'm going to show you Constant Contact in a minute. Each platform is going to have either a create or a post button to click. You click this every time you want to start a new post, even if it's something you're scheduling. Within that, it's going to come to, if I go back to this screen, you can see that up here where I'm circling the little LinkedIn where it says 1210, that is a character count. That means these people chose LinkedIn for this. And every platform gives you this ability to choose the social media outlets that you want to be posting to. Then you populate a content section with your copy, including the hashtags. And if you've pre-written it, you literally would just cut and paste. And then you add an image. Typically, this is something, there's a spot, they'll have a box that says add image. You click it, it gives you the option to either upload from your computer or choose from, many of these have existing libraries. I'll be honest, those aren't great images. Or you can start to build your own library. And especially if it's different images that you want to use, repetitively. I wouldn't say use the same image, but, it's a way to build it. Then you want to review your post, because what's happening in the screens are split. The right side is populating in real time. As you're putting stuff in, it's showing you what the post is going to look like. So when you get everything in, you're going to review it. You can choose to publish it immediately, or you can schedule it for a later time. So I'm going to show you what this looks like in Constant Contact, because that's what we use. So let me go to that. Okay, is everybody seeing my Constant Contact screen? You should be now. Okay. So I've gotten myself to the social part, and you can see here, these are past ones that have gone in. For Constant Contact, you hit create. Choose a campaign, social post, ads. Like I said, they're a different animal. So you come to a screen like this, and this is pretty similar to what you'll see in other platforms, because they want you to see this is on the right side. It's showing you what it looks like in real time. This is where you're putting everything in. So the first thing you do is you pick you have to connect your accounts, but you pick which ones you want to go to. So let's say we want to do Rural Solutions LinkedIn. As you see, it comes up here, it's showing here. Now, I was talking about cutting and pasting. I don't have that doc right now. Oh, I can get it. Hang on, let me see. So I'm cutting and pasting from here. So you can hit paste as plain text. It's going to pop in here. Let's say you want to add, you can do test, test, test. As you type, it's populating. I do a space with hashtags. It is literally just a copywriter's thing. I hate having it all jammed together. But if I was going to do this, I do ruralsolutionsvt.com to get my branding in there, St. Patty's Day. Oops, you can't do that. So as you can see, oh, I did .com. That's funny. Don't do .com. It doesn't mean anything. But as you can see, these are registering as hashtags so that when it posts, they are clickable. I want to add an image. It's going to pull up my library. It's probably going to take forever because my internet is slow, but this is what's existing in our library. If you go over here to upload, and again, all the platforms allow you to do this in their own way. If it's on your computer, you would hit upload. A lot of them have a stock imagery gallery. Some stock, you have to just make sure you're choosing. Some of the stock imagery costs money. So you want to make sure that whether you're choosing a free image or one that's going to cost you money. Constant Contact allows you to create in Canva, which is a nice feature. But just for our purposes, I'm just going to pick this one. It says insert, we insert, and it populates right here. Okay, so this is what platforms do for you. If you pick more, you can add another profile. If we hit Facebook, it's going to go down into Facebook. You're going to see both so that you see what it looks like. It's, slightly different in each one, not a huge deal, but that's the way it goes. If you wanted to post this right now, you would hit post now. If you want to plug a bunch of drafts in, you're not ready to schedule, you can hit save draft. It'll save. And again, all platforms allow you to do this. For Constant Contact, the schedule later is up here. A lot of them will have, schedule later down here, publish later, sometimes they'll use. But you go into your calendar, you can pick here, and you pick the time, say it's 1 a.m. in the morning. It's there. You would hit schedule post, and it will schedule. And then you can go back and see it in your lineup. So this is where these kinds of platforms really help. Not only do they give you a place to just kind of crank out the post once you've got all the content done, you can schedule as far out as you want. It's like a set it and forget it. Once it's there and it's ready to go, you're good. And that's why it is worth dedicating that time to it. Go back to the PowerPoint. This is, like I said, they all look a little different, but they're all going to function in that way. I think I lost you guys. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Am I sharing?
No, not at the moment.
All right, there we go. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. So when is the best time to post? This is always such a big question. An overall best time is by 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Makes sense. Mondays, people, it takes them a while to get going. Fridays, people are typically out the door, you know, or they're just not really plugged in because it's the weekend. However, that's an overall general. Really, the question is that when your audience is online, and this is what you need to look at. You probably have a feel for when your audience is online, but one of the best ways is to take a quick look at the simple analytics that are available to you in your business pages. You know, you can just go on your Instagram business page. It's constantly keeping track of all kinds of information. It's free. Same with Facebook. And that doesn't mean that if you post on Mondays and Fridays, you're going to get nowhere. That's just silly. People are constantly on their phone. People are constantly on their social media. Again, it's really about being there 2 to 3 times a week. You know, maybe instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you want to do Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. That's fine. I like to post stuff for like 8 or 8:30 because then I know it's getting into people's feeds so that by the time they're taking that first morning break, it's already there and not just showing up. But again, it really is about knowing your audience. Consistency. We've been talking, you know, we've mentioned this a few times. Consistency is really key in social media marketing. For your audience to recognize your brand, you have to be consistent. And this is where the planning, you know, using a platform like a Hootsuite or Constant Contact really helps. Being consistent in your brand allows you to grow in your audience engagement and reach because you're there, because you're providing stuff for them to chew on. I mean, it's, you know, if you plunk a deli tray in front of people with some bread, it's going to get eaten, right? It's kind of the same idea. From the tone of voice used in your messaging to the aesthetics of your profiles, meaning, you know, those nice graphics, those good images, you become recognizable, and that's how you start to gain traction among your audience. One thing I always tell my clients and tell people in these webinars is that social media, organic social media, is the long game. It's a marathon. You're not going to turn people with a couple of posts. It just doesn't convert that way. I mean, emails can convert that way. And certainly if you're selling stuff on your website. But the organic social is really about building your presence, building that branding, building that personality so that people become brand loyalists. And they eventually, if they go from brand loyalist to brand ambassador. And that's really what you're looking for. Consistency is not just about the posting though. So you want to be consistent in your posting. You want to be consistent in your voice and your messaging. In other words, you want your post to sound like the same person or people are talking to users, and the messaging should stay consistent, stay the same. You know, for instance, if you're a realtor and you're really a buyer's broker versus a seller's broker, if you all of a sudden start posting about the benefits of selling your house, you're going to throw your audience off. You stick with who you are and what you do. And then, of course, aesthetics. You want those nice images. You want really just a professional look. You don't want it to look like you're just sitting there taking pictures with your iPhone unless you're really good at it. So it's consistency in these 3 areas. And that concludes our time with the presentation, at least. Put that there. So I am happy to open this up to questions. I see some things in the chat. Oh, okay, we got the best times to post already. But we have some extra time, so if people have questions, I'm ready to help out. Oh, thank you, Suzanne. Okay, thanks for coming, Pam.
Are you teaching the next class, Jody?
I am actually teaching 2 webinars coming up. One is on March 30th.
Okay.
The other is April 13th. They are about Wi-Fi marketing. You have participated in Wi-Fi marketing if you've ever walked into a library or a restaurant and you've logged on to their internet using any kind of credential. Wi-Fi marketing is a new service my business is getting in. So our first one on March 30th is what is Wi-Fi marketing and why is it important? The second one is all about Wi-Fi marketing for food trucks and outdoor recreation spaces.
Jody, do you mind if I just jump in here with a quick comment?
Sure.
I believe Susan just posted that she wish we could hire you, but we're just starting a new business. So I posted in the chat 2 grants. One is through our program called Embrace, which helps to fund startup and existing businesses. Those are $5,000 grants. And I provided the link in there. So it's quite possible that should you be approved, it's possible that you could use those funds to hire Jody to provide those kinds of services. And the other link was to the Vermont Economic Development Corporation. So we're not associated with that particular grant, but I wanted you to know about it because that can allow you to hire a professional to do work for you. So essentially, they have a list of contractors. You can connect with them, and if you're approved, the grant will pay the contractor to do the work.
Yep. The grants are amazing. We're working with several Embrace grant recipients right now, and we, meaning Rural Solutions and myself, we are approved. It's the Navigator grant. It's like CNPP Navigator grant. We are approved vendors for that, and they are great grants. I suggest you apply for both if you can, because our services definitely fall under that.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm not sure if you have resources at your fingertips, or maybe it's a subject for another webinar in the future, but as a small business I'm a seamstress, my primary source of advertising is Facebook. I have 2 sets of clientele. One is Department of Defense and law enforcement, and the other one is private civilians locally. One of the issues I'm having with Facebook being my primary advertising medium is consistently being Facebook jailed for my advertising.
Yeah.
And they have no problem charging me for the advertisement that they didn't run.
Right.
And then making sure to let me know that it's under review, and then leaving me jailed for long periods of, I call it jailed, long periods of time.
Oh, everybody does.
Yeah. And I was kind of hoping that you were going to be able to touch on that today, because with that being my primary advertising area, it is a significant loss to me.
Right.
And their appeals process is lengthy and it feels like you're screaming into a vacuum. So
You are.
yeah. So is that something that you'll be able to review, or you can give me a resource to figure out how to deal with it? Because just during COVID, which for me, I was making masks for huge companies and all kinds of things. I really needed the revenue because, you know, the world was upside down. And I was jailed, I think, at least 4 times during COVID.
Yeah.
And it was very problematic.
I definitely, I have a couple of colleagues I can refer you to, because that definitely falls under paid ads. There are very specific best practices for all of them. Facebook is really funky. My guess is that there was something in the copy, the messaging that
I started trying to go through my copy even closer because they were saying that they were very specific in why they jailed me during COVID, that I was taking advantage of, not a pandemic. I was taking advantage of, it was very specific to COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to avoid that when that's exactly what I do for a living. And I was trying to get my message out.
Yeah, I know people who they sell hemp cigarettes, and you can't even use the word cigarette in Facebook ads. People have had to get very creative. And again, I feel like Facebook just flags random things. I'm happy if you want to email me. I'm certainly happy to, give you the names of a couple of colleagues who specialize in Facebook ads, and they can probably tell you a little bit more. I mean, I can write an ad all day, but Facebook is just so picky and weird. As far as your credit card, I would pull that credit card off. I would just, that's ridiculous.
And then when you're in the appeals process, you don't discover that they hadn't run it until they've charged me.
Yeah,
and then let me know that they didn't run it.
I would take that to the Attorney General's office. I would take screenshots and statements and send that to the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Thank you.
Krista, I have a question.
Let me just
sorry, Simeon, go ahead.
Thanks. Just quickly, Mary, I just want to touch base with you. Given what you mentioned you are doing, are you working with PTAC by any chance?
Oh, PTAC, yes, I'm very well. Yeah, Betsy and I are best friends.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure you were connected with that resource. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I'll put a link into the chat for you. Thank you.
PTAC is an asset and a half for small businesses that are looking at government contract.
Exactly. Yep. Great. Sorry, Krista, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jody. This was fabulous. I was just wondering though, are you going to be, I don't use much with Twitter. So I have a big learning curve on that, but Facebook, Instagram, are you going to do a smaller tutorial on that sometime?
I certainly can.
Okay.
I don't have anything scheduled right now, but I did an Instagram presentation a couple of years ago. So,
okay.
I certainly can.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I just looked up the Navigator grant, but I wasn't, do you have a link for that?
Yeah, let me,
because I just looked it up and it gave me all kinds of things for health planning and qualified coverage for health planning. So
yeah, hang on, let me
okay
here. There it is. Okay. Yep. Colina, yeah, we'd love to connect. I'll also put my email in the chat here if you guys, because we do, or everybody in my company, all the heads of the divisions, we do like 15-minute consultations. If you just want to run something by.
So
But-
you were saying, so I was just in the process of doing the Embrace application. I was actually started that last night, and they can pay you directly then, or should we go through the Navigator grant for that?
So,
I would, yeah, I'll let Simeon take it.
yeah, I'll address the Embrace grant. First of all, can I just ask, are you applying as an existing business or a startup?
As an existing business. They said I had to wait till March 1st, I think it was. And I was waiting. Kate said she would send an email, and she never has, but I'm assuming I can just go ahead and put it back through.
I think just to play it safe, I would follow up with Kate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Simeon.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But did you have a specific question, Krista, about the Embrace grant? I thought you had a specific question. I can try to address it.
Well, it was just if we wanted to use Jody's services, how would we put that? How would we list that as part of the marketing? That's all. But we can talk about this after. I can email you.
Okay. And by all means, you can ask that question directly to Kate when you are connecting with her. So
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Simeon.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions from any point in the presentation? Okay, yeah, Julie, that's fine. Feel free to email me some questions.
And just to jump in to follow up on Krista would probably be to your benefit for the Embrace grant to connect with Jody and get a sense about what the work would be and what the price would be, so your budget for it, for Embrace.
Well, I was multitasking. I was just sending Jody an email now.
Okay. Well, good.
Nice.
Great information.
Love that. Yeah, and I think, Simeon and Rachel have a PDF of this presentation. It'll go out as an attachment. If you feel like you missed anything, you can use that as a reference for any of the sort of technical aspects, character counts, all of that stuff. I do recommend everybody take a look at Canva, canva.com. Like I said, it's like graphics for dummies. I know good design when I see it. I am absolutely horrible at it, and I have managed to pull off images in there. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. But they run the gamut of all different kinds of digital assets. So it's great, and there is a free membership, and then there's a little bit more.
And I did post the link to Canva in the chat for folks earlier, just so you know.
Perfect.
I've also been collecting these, and they'll be included in the follow-up email you all receive after this session.
Nice.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, guys, if no one has anything else, it's gotten sunny and it's kind of warm, so go have some nice lunch with the luck of the Irish, I guess.